Welcome to the Future Fit Edge podcast, your launchpad into a smart future. In this era of exponential disruption, the choice is crystal clear. Reinvent or be left behind, whether you are at your peak or facing new challenges. I am Cindy Montgenie, your guide, inviting you behind the scenes of strategic reinvention. As a former tech executive turned future of work explorer and reinvention strategist, I have equipped thousands of leaders worldwide to not just navigate ambiguity, but thrive in it. Each part-packed episode decodes the strategies of top executives who are tackling today's toughest challenges to stay future fit and transform their organizations, communities, or industries for a brighter tomorrow. Tune in for stellar insights, practical frameworks, and cutting-edge mindset shifts that will set you apart. The future is unstoppable. Are you ready to be unstoppable too? Hit subscribe and join me on this exciting journey. Welcome to a new episode of the Future Fit Edge podcast. I'm super excited about the conversation today with another accomplished guest. Martin Stier is the SVP, Senior Vice President of Recruiting, Diversity and Culture, and Chief Diversity Officer at HP. Martin has more than 26 years of experience as a seasoned and well-respected HR global executive. He had experiences in different industries, logistics, consumer goods, technologies, impacting really millions of lives across the world. So thank you, Martin, because I know you're traveling a lot in your global role. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us today, and welcome to the Future Fit Edge podcast.
Thank you, Cindy. And I love to be here to have the conversation with you and learn and share together.
Awesome. So let's dive in, because as I was mentioning, you have experiences in different organizations, different industries, and you had these amazing opportunities to lead transformational initiatives. Could you share a pivotal moment or decision that has deeply impacted your approach to transformational leadership?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about, opportunities where I had a chance to influence, to partner with leaders and help them transform organizations, evolve new businesses, create new organizations. And there's one experience that it was a moment in time that it was a couple of years ago when I was working in one of the business units we have at HP. And we actually were at a leadership conference. We had several leaders in the room. We had the leadership team up there. One of the things that happened was after the event, there was one female leader that came to me with instant picture of that leadership team. And she basically said, Martin, look at this picture. And there were probably 13 men in that stage. There was only one woman. And she took the picture on purpose and said, Martin, look how this is seen and perceived. And that's when I had this moment where I realized that something really transformational had to happen. Because every time that leadership team would be speaking, would be talking to different communities at different sites, at different, employee groups, that would be something that would stand out. I feel that was a transformational moment where we just sat down with the leader of that organization and we said, we need to change this. Because if we want to bring the best talent, if we want to make sure that people feel that they can be part of this transformation, we were in a business transformation itself, we needed to realize that was also a very important element of the change that we needed to drive. Fast forward, we were able to create a more inclusive leadership, and we felt very proud after the work that we did, through many interventions and many programs, many initiatives, supporting succession, helping, emerging diverse leaders to actually get to the leadership level. And we were able to show that it is possible, but it requires awareness, understanding, and really partnership with the leaders to drive the change. So that was something that always stood up, that picture. And it's funny, I cannot show you my whiteboard, but I have that picture always next to me because it's a good reminder of how important, definitely in my role as Chief Diversity Officer, is always a good reminder of the commitment and the effort that we need to do for sure to drive and create inclusive cultures.
I love this example because the reason why I started with transformational leadership, because I think like in our ever changing world, this is really a new capacity that every leader should have. And as you mentioned, it starts with awareness, because you could have something top down, because we need to do it because this is a trend. But if really there is not a internal buying and this awareness, like really things needs to change and understand why they need to change. And as you mentioned, partnership, nothing happened. And for this reason, we were seeing so many times transformational initiatives were failing because there was really not a buying, awareness, no understanding, and no partnership. So this is like a really powerful example. Thanks, Martin, for sharing.
Thank you.
And there is also something, part of the trends at this moment is globalization. Mm-hmm. So you've been in your 26 years of experience, at least like the 9-10 years in a global executive mm-hmm. role, reporting directly to the Chief People Officer at HP. And also you are from Argentina, but you had the opportunity to live in Brazil. Now you are living in the US. So you have like this personal experience of living in a different culture. But also in your work, in the past 9-10 years, you are working across continents, culture. What are the unique challenges you are facing as a global HR executive? And how are you overcoming those challenges to be efficient, effective in your role?
Well, this is definitely a passion of mine, and probably the reason why I've been always open to relocating, living in different places and traveling. I feel very proud that I've been able to go to 41 countries around the world, and I still need to hit that 50 marks. I'm looking at what I'm going to do before I turn 50 to get to 50 countries around the world, and I don't have a lot of time left. So, but one of the things that I always share from my different experiences is that you really need to understand the history of the countries and the cultures to really understand the behaviors. And you really need to understand how people relate, how people connect with work, and how do they lead, why leaders lead the way they lead. And I always reinforce that it's very important to understand the past, to recognize where you are, and also be mindful on what you can expect and what are the things that you can bring into teams from different parts, from different cultures, so that you can actually move together. So I spend a lot of time understanding the past. When I travel around the world, I try to connect with the different cultures, and I try to understand how people live, how they develop their social relationships, what do they do outside of work, because you cannot look at employees from only the lenses of what they do at work. You need to look at them in a more integral way. You need to think about them as we talk about work and life, and that we always say, well, a lot of things post-pandemic have integrated. One of the things that I loved about the pandemic is I say that there was a curtain that came down. There was a curtain that opened up. We could see what was happening behind that human being that had elderly parents to take care, that had kids at home that they were making noise and they were interrupting the calls, that they had pets that were walking around and were being distracted. There's a lot that happens outside of the work environment. And I know that one of the things that we are definitely talking a lot about is the hybrid world and how things are evolving from the workplace and the dynamic and what companies are doing in this space. But back to the culture question, one of the things that I learned through the different experiences I had the opportunity to work on an acquisition that we did in Korea. And I happened to travel to Korea like 10 to 12 times in a very short period of time. And we acquired a company, we integrated a company where the people that were coming over to HP were very sad to leave the company they were part of. It was not about not being excited about being part of HP. It was really the detachment and that sadness around leaving the company that they were part of had a lot to do with the culture, had a lot to do with the history of being part of that company and how other people would see them moving away from that corporation and becoming part of HP. So that's why I always say you need to understand the past. You need to understand the history of individuals, and you need to see them in a more holistic way so that you can better help them move into the future and integrate in any environment that you're in.
Yeah, and it's all about like really connecting on a personal level with each person. And for me, this is one of the key when I do program on inclusive leadership, like because you could have like inclusive even in the same country, is like each person is a story. For this reason, when we talk about like intersectionality within the diversity world, like the experience of a Black woman in tech is not the same of a Black woman with disability in tech. And even there is like so much layer. So I love like this key of understanding and really connecting to what makes the person like really stick and thrive. Great keys, Martin. Thanks.
Thank you.
And you touch about like some future of work trends like hybrid and what happened with the pandemic. And really at this moment, we are seeing like everything is being redefined. For this reason, this podcast is the future fit age because the work is being transformed under our eyes. So what do you think about all those trends? What do you think are the ones that will be the most impactful and transformational in how we work? And how do you see the concept of workplace evolving in the next decade?
I don't know if I have the right answer or the best answer. I think nobody does. And I think what we are learning as we go is that right now we have the diversity from multi-generations in the workplace. We have multiple capabilities being displayed in the workplace. You have companies with people that have been employees before the pandemic. You have companies with employees that have joined during the pandemic, post-pandemic. And these are three moments in time where the way that we were thinking about the workplace was very different. Prior to the pandemic, we were all focused that everything happened mostly in the office. There were companies that had employees that were providing flexibility, but the flexibility was really, I can start later, I can leave earlier, I can attend events, the school of my kids, or I can take care of my personal. It was the flexibility, the concept of flexibility prior to the pandemic was one. During the pandemic was very different, where nobody was in the office and we were all trying to figure out how we would come together, leveraging technology and making sure that we would feel that in a virtual environment where we are connecting, people were wondering, okay, it's great that we are all connected, but we lost the personal connection. So how do we, and so now post-pandemic, we were able to gain that. But the way that every employee is experiencing the connections and the workplace is also very different, right? Because there are some people that are coming into the workplace, they've always experienced the virtual engagement, so they don't see the need of connecting in an office. They don't, but there are others that miss that connection. There are leaders that manage people before, there are leaders. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't think that there's one recipe for hybrid work and how to collaborate. What I do feel is that what is expected from managers today, for people managers, but also from team members, is how do you find what works for the different members of the team that you have? Of course, there are some jobs that require to be in the office and work on stuff that eventually you cannot rely on a screen, on a keyboard to actually get the work done, or a Zoom meeting or a Teams or whatever. So there are some restrictions that continue to remain, But I think the fascinating aspect of is that we are living today is there's not one size fits all. There are companies that are still figuring out how to create the right work environment with the right technology that allows those that need or prefer to be in an office to interact in an office without losing those that eventually are not coming as frequent or are not even expected to be in the office. So that's for CIOs and for chief people officers to figure that out with the CEOs and the leaders. I think it's a fascinating time where I don't think that any company have cracked the code. And also, I think that it's very hard to dictate what will work because every company has a different culture. Every company has a different composition. Every company has a different mix in terms of, the number of people that have been with the company for a very long time and are sticking to what they like from the past. And there are other companies that have a lot of people that have joined recently and are more inclined to enjoy the post-pandemic benefits of the level of flexibility and not coming to the office type of policy. So again, back to my answer, I'm not sure that any company have figured out. What I can tell you is at HP, we do enjoy flexibility in many ways. And probably because we are a technology company and we play very an important role in the collaboration tools and the devices that actually help and enable the interactions, whether it's virtual or in person. We tend to see the benefit of both, of the connection and the personal interactions at the office, but also the connection through virtual collaboration and engagements.
We're living a time of this is a big experimentation, and we will see how it's going to work out in the next decade. But you're right, yeah. Every company will need to figure out what is going to work for them. But thanks for the insight about flexibility being crucial at this moment at HP. There is another big trend that we don't need to wait the next decade to see that everything is changing, which is AI. And among the amazing things that AI is doing is this capacity for automation. So when you and I were starting our journey 26, 28 years ago, low entry jobs, really at this moment, AI is able to do most of what is a typical low entry job. You are in charge of finding the upcoming talent and attracting new graduates to HP. Doesn't mean that we are seeing the end of a low entry job because of AI, and how new graduates should prepare themselves to enter the workforce now with explosion of AI.
So I would say, Cindy, that while AI is going very, very, very fast, and companies are embracing and adopting AI-enabled PCs, AI, software, which is definitely helping myself, right? So I have the opportunity to enjoy the benefits of Copilot. I get transcripts, I get summaries. I have an assistant that is helping me to follow up on pending items that sometimes I had them in the chat and I forgot that I needed to take an action. So definitely moving very fast and evolving and actually helping people be smarter at their job. If you ask me what I see on the early career or the entry level, we continue to have our internship programs, our graduate hires, and we are not necessarily reducing our investment and our focus. Because what is also happening is universities and colleges are evolving their offering, are evolving their studies and their programs and their curriculum so that they can support the evolution of new technologies, right? So if you ask me, probably today we are hiring more data scientists and computer scientists than what we were hiring before. So yes, there is a realignment of the type of graduates and internships that you provide, so that the early careers have, those that are starting in entry jobs have the opportunity to have a working experience. But I think there's the ecosystem of the universities, of the students, of the companies. I think we are also evolving to make sure that jobs get smarter, but not necessarily all of the jobs get eliminated. So I think that we are going to continue to see certain jobs evolving and eventually being transformed And I think that we will continue to see new jobs that get created because the human intervention, I think it's still needed for some of the things that we continue, innovation, product development. I think that there's still a demand for human intervention, partnering with the smart AI bots that we see and algorithms that helped us get the work done better.
I share the same belief. And there is a stat that was mentioning that in 2030, so in 6 years, now 5 years and a half, 85% of the jobs that might exist in 2030 do not exist today. So that means that we will see really new jobs coming up. Like, for example, now, like prompt engineer, right? This didn't exist some years ago. So love the insight. And as you mentioned, even you in your role, AI is changing as how you work. And this is kind of the fascination with AI, is like everything is being disrupted. Mm-hmm. So how do you see the impact of AI for executive and C-suite leaders? And what are like the new competency that you are seeing for this level of management in the future?
Well, I think what's interesting is we are constantly being validated or not for what we think is happening or what we react to needs that are happening in the organization, where sometimes we believe that the morale of the organization is not at the level that it is, or that we believe that there are certain concerns about certain things that are happening, or we respond to stimulus that eventually, through AI and through data analytics and through machine learning, you might be able to get the right answer and validate what your perception and perspective is. So I think that what's happening is, because there's more data available and because there's more mining of the data, and you are actually getting smarter data that leads to better insights, I think what is required from us is paying much more attention to the data that it's available and not relying so much on impressions, on opinions, where the data can actually help you validate those much faster. So I think from, at the executive level, I think that's something that is changing. I think it's helping with decision making, especially in global and complex environments where you need to make faster decisions, you need to enable things to happen faster. I think all the new technologies are going to help organizations move faster with the things that they are trying to do. So I think that there's no other way than embracing these new technologies and actually getting prepared. Definitely agility is something that it's a skill that we need to evolve and upskill ourselves so that we can benefit from all that progress that we see in data and information, because if not, we will not be able to consume it. And as a result of that, we will not be able to benefit from it. So that's what I see in this revolution of AI and the overflow of information that is accessible to us.
And this is a good transition for my next question, because you mentioned about agility, embracing this technology. You are working for a tech company, global tech company, 55,000 people. How do you stay up to date and to be sure like you are relevant, you are bringing really the value to your industry, to your company, with such huge responsibility, traveling all over the world and still need to visit 9 countries before reaching 50? So you practically, how are you doing it to share with other people?
Well, I think that you need to spend time outside of your box. You need to spend time with, you need to talk to your team members. You need to talk to the stakeholders that you are working and thinking about, whether it's on the evolution of the culture, or whether it's how to create a more inclusive work environment, or whether it's where do we find the right talent. If I think about my roles, I'm constantly thinking about, am I getting the right feedback? Am I getting the right input? Am I getting the right leads? Am I listening to the stakeholders that I'm serving? And at the same time, is staying connected with the trends. Are you reading where the world is going? Are you listening to thoughtful leaders? Are you, when somebody, hey, Martin, have you read this? Have you listened to this podcast or book, or have you heard about this? I think that curiosity is something that we all need to make sure that it's there in terms of asking the questions, in reaching out to people to get insights, is paying attention to what is happening, in the world. And there's so many ways, through networking, through conferences, through social media, right? I think that if we lose that spark, or if we lose the interest of being curious and reaching out and connecting and learning and listening, then I think that's when we get lost in our box. So that's why I always remind myself and encourage my team and everybody that works, at HP, is let's make sure that we are paying attention to what's happening outside of our immediate reality, because that's going to help us stay relevant, stay agile, and keep understanding that there's always something new and different that we can learn from others that will actually help us do our job better.
Yeah, I love it. And I think in this tech-driven world, the concept of community is going to become more and more and more important. And that leads me to what is to another set of questions, because as you mentioned, I'm a big believer in the importance of the partnership between humans and technology. Because at the end, we need really to strive as human beings to really lead well companies. So now that we get your perspectives as the global executive leader, let's get to know you a bit on a more personal level with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So paper books or digital books?
Both.
Both, okay. To learn.
I have my Kindle and I have my paper books.
Okay, I cannot do digital. I need to have a book and to write everything. Podcast or books to learn when you want to podcast. Awesome. Do you have a favorite podcast that maybe you want to share with someone that you enjoy?
Well, I don't know if you have heard from Adam Grant, and his podcast is one that I follow and I listen to. That would be one.
Yeah, good one to share with our friends.
The Daily from the New York Times. Yeah, there are a couple. Bloomberg, to stay aware of how the Wall Street evolves. So there are a couple that help me, whether it's financial, whether it's culture, leadership. Yeah.
Love it. And you're traveling a lot, and also we didn't talk because the idea of the future fit age, but you have a family. You're not just a global HR executive. So what would be an hobby you wish you had more time to practice this hobby?
I love singing.
Oh, wow. Didn't know this talent of yours.
Yes. And yes. So yeah, that's something that I wish I would have more time. I wish I would be more skilled to play the piano, which I'm not. I played guitar a long time ago, but yes, singing is something that it helps with emotions. It helps with breathing. It helps with hearing and yeah. So I wish I would have more time for that. Especially singing.
I will give you another one. A superpower you wish you would have. Superpower.
Transport. Time transporter. I would like to transport over time and live and experience how it was at different times into the future, and being able to always come back.
Love it. Great one. And the last question, what would you do with one additional hour in a day? A 25-hour day. What would you do with this hour?
I would probably, I don't know if I would dedicate to one thing, but I would probably find ways to spend more time with my family, connect more with relatives that I have far away, that I don't talk enough with them. I would probably exercise a little bit more. I maybe spend some time singing.
Awesome. So thanks a lot, Martin, for sharing with us part of your personal aspect of your life, but also insight on transformational leadership, awareness, understanding, partnership, how to really strive in a global world with understanding the past, connecting, and really understanding all the strengths, AI, to stay agile, embrace curiosity, so each company can really define their new playbook. So it was really a pleasure, an honor to learn from you, and looking forward to stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cindy. It was lovely to spend time with you, and I appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And to our friends who are listening, I hope you took a lot of notes, and I'm waiting for you for the next episode of the Future Fit Edge. So see you soon. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Future Fit Edge podcast. To keep the conversation going, follow me on LinkedIn and subscribe to my newsletter. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, rate, and share on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time.